Happy holidays! Welcome to the new episode of Cinema Soapbox, Holiday Edition. I'm Matt, and welcome to my wonderful panel. Hello, panel.
Hi, Matt.
We got some Christmassiness up in here, holiday themes. Today, we're going to talk about the holiday season, and I have got a special presentation for you. So, without any further ado, happy holidays from Matty Loves Movies. Disclaimer to all the parents out there. We will be discussing the veracity of a specific philanthropic, festive portly fellow. Beware of children in the room. Scott Calvin. Kris Kringle. Saint Nick. Ed Asner. What do these characters have in common? And you may answer if you'd like, panel.
They're all Santa.
Santa
Claus.
I suppose
They're
you're
Santa
right.
adjacent.
I never noticed that before. No. The thing they all have in common is they are from movies where Santa exists, but the parents and others don't believe in him. So the question I have for you today, in movies where Santa is real, but only children believe in him, where do parents and guardians think the presents come from? Now, fair warning, I am not going to have an answer for this. I have a few possible explanations, but they will all have reasons that it won't work also. During our discussion portion of this presentation, I would like to hear from you, my panel, theories, or if any of my theories resonate with you and you think that those are probably the right answers. So without further ado, possibility number one, magically altered memories. In this theory, whether directly or by means of an ongoing Yuletide magical effect, parents' memories are modified to make them believe that they purchased and placed the gifts that Santa brings. Why this might work. As an omniscient or omnipresent magical being who can visit every Christian house and every non-Christian celebrant's house in one night would most likely have no problem with mass memory spell. If he can see every child at all times and be able to accurately judge them individually, he probably can handle a spell of this kind. Number two, holiday distractions. The hustle and bustle of the holiday season is a perfect distraction to keep a parent from looking too closely at where their memories might have lapsed. Why this one might not work. Number one, sustaining/personalizing memories. While he definitely has the power to modify memories, the amount of power and detail that would be required to create personalized memories for every household, often with multiple adults in them, would likely be too much to maintain. It's possible that he delegates this duty, which would require a lot of very powerful beings, or it's a single spell that has maintained itself for centuries, but that would likely result in a more generic and less personalized effect. Number two, balanced bookkeeping. This would also mean that Santa is taking the money that parents believe they've spent on gifts, which is not only uncool, but also begs the question, why not just let the parents actually buy the gifts? Number three, self-sabotage. Most of these films put an emphasis on Christmas spirit, often as a requirement for Santa's magic. Santa maintaining this ruse undermines and potentially reduces the effectiveness of the very spell that has caused it. Less Christmas spirit means less powerful spells. It's from Liar Liar, if you guys don't know. I just made it Santa-y. Possibility number two, an ancient pact. In this theory, Santa is likely a malevolent being or an otherworldly/extraplanar visitor that has struck an accord with the parents of Earth. Why this one might work. Upholding the bargain. This one might actually be the most plausible of them all because in this theory, parents know about Santa and are simply playing along to avoid the wrath of Père Noël or to ensure that he upholds his end of the bargain that they struck. Number two, anti-Santa heroism. This would also make anti-Santa characters make a bit more sense in these movies. Perhaps Dr. Neil knows that the way to defeat the evil Santa is by sowing doubt in the children. Maybe if no one believes, the Jolly Destroyer will become powerless. Why this might not work. If it's not an evil agreement, then parents pretending doesn't make a whole lot of sense logistically. If it is an evil agreement, then it require very specific and powerful magic that is activated when a person becomes a parent or guardian. And by the way, when I say parent or guardian, I might say parent a lot in this presentation. I mean anybody who bears the responsibility of presence, and who would likely notice if something like that happened. So when I say parents, I don't just mean parents. I mean grandparents. I mean uncles, aunts, guardians, any of those type of people. But logistics of the very specific and powerful magic that was activated when that person, because that somehow these people have to find out about that this is happening. Number 2, evidence. With few exceptions, like Santa's sleigh, which is a movie, this portion of the lore is not mentioned, and Santa characters in these movies don't lead me to believe that this is true. There just isn't any evidence within these movies, or within the majority of these movies, that this is a plausible scenario. Which leads me to possibility 3. Inattention/apathy. This theory relies on self-centered nature of humankind, their arrogance and lack of attention that masks the reality of the situation. Why this might work. Number 1, who gets the credit? If your dad was like mine, and I sincerely hope he wasn't, then he cared more about the credit he received from a gift than the gift itself, or you for that matter. A narcissistic parent will likely have no clue what Santa brought and would not care because they do not get the credit anyway. Number 2, who has the time? According to things I've heard people say on the internet, which is obviously so reliable, the national attention span is waning and apathy is on the rise. Who has time to notice what my children get from whom? That sounds like beta behavior. And just as an aside, I just realized that a beta is also a fish, and there's a goldfish on the screen. There was no pun intended. This was alpha beta talk. I was pretending to be macho. Why this possibility might not work. Attentive parents. If your mom was like mine, and I sincerely hope she was, then she cared very much about the things she was able to buy for you. With her limited funds. There are many parents around the world who would have definitely noticed that these presents are showing up and that they did not buy them. Number 2, the rise of social media. The rise of social media would make it nearly impossible to keep these mysterious presents off people's radars. Back in the 1980s and 90s, we would have seen it on late night shows or talk shows or in conversations with actual people. Today, we would probably see that on TikToks and clickbait about it.
Listen, I don't want to alarm anyone, but I just realized something today. Where do the presents come from that my kids get on Christmas morning? I'm not putting them in there. Someone is. Who is doing it? My name is Phoebe. I think 9/11 was an inside job. My name is Oliver. I don't know where the presents that come on Christmas morning come from. My name is Harley. I think the moon is made out of cheese and I want to eat it.
Okay. What do you think? Where do the parents think the presents come from?
I think the unfun answer is that filmmakers just don't think about this, and Matt does, and they don't expect someone like Matt to think about this. That's the unfun answer. But the fun answer,
that is an unfun answer. But the question is, if we accept these realities in these movies as true, then we have to be able to have this answer.
Fair. And with that, I would probably say, because I don't think anyone really has the correct answer, but I think my favorite one is the first one. The Santa is gaslighting everyone answer and using magic to change their realities to believe, I'm a good parent. I bought all those presents. You damn right I did.
I actually do have I have a point that I want to make. When we watch those movies, they're mostly presents that are made in Santa's shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're mostly like little trinkets that like out of wood, and they're like very tiny little gifts, like from the days where polio was around. So I think they're like such tiny gifts that like parents aren't really paying that much attention because it's such a like it's like a little doll carved out of like wood or something, and like parents just like they probably got it like at school or something.
I would say that there's a lot of that in some of those movies, but the counterpoint would be movies like Elf and the Santa Claus, where we actively see them making modern day toys.
Oh, they do make modern toys.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that doesn't work for that one.
Specifically in Elf, I remember there is a big joke where he goes, Buddy, I think Buddy goes, who thinks makes all these toys if no one believes in Santa? And he goes, well, the theory is that the parents give them out. And he's like, that's ridiculous. And so it feels like that's kind of true, where everyone is in like a state of believing that, the parents are the ones that do it. And we know, and Santa knows, and Buddy knows that that's ridiculous. So I feel like the natural leap has to be that first theory, because I haven't really engaged with the third one that much. And the second one, I don't believe that any of these Santas in these movies that you mentioned specifically are evil. So,
there are a couple, but not in these. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we're not talking about the WWE wrestler that plays Santa in one of them.
I love that movie, by the way.
I've thought about this question a lot, and I'm very glad you put some theories out there, because I've never been able to crack it. The one thing that I always thought about was I was very fortunate to grow up and have a mother and a father who had presents, and then also getting Santa on top of that. So I'd get some presents from mom, some presents from dad, some presents from Santa. So my theory was always that the parents just got all the presents, and then the ones that were from Santa, oh, dad must have bought that for the kid, or oh, mom must have gotten that for the kid, not realizing that there was a third party involved. But the problem is, like you said, the attentive parents who know exactly what each parent bought. Like, oh, dad, you're getting this, I'm going to get this. So what about those other presents that just show up? And the social media thing was a great little touch to show, even in our present day, how that could be debunked. And especially for single parent households, how does that work then when it's here's some from mom? Because there are probably kids that get presents only from Santa, where everything says from Santa. I had ones where it was from mom and dad from Santa, but it's also if you only have a one parent household, then that's impossible, because then the ones from Santa, they're going to know, oh, I didn't buy these. So yeah, that completely debunks it. So I think for my specific circumstance, I was able to figure out, oh, this is how they could both exist. But you're right. There's no way to show, especially if they're attentive parents who know exactly what each person bought. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. I have no idea.
I grew up in a single parent household, but my kids are in a 2-parent household because my wife and I are still together. But my wife and my mother both attentive, so that would not work in my house or in my house. So that is the question. I also got presents from mom and then presents from Santa separately. So it wasn't just Santa brought everything. So a lot of it was explained, but then where did that remote control car come from? Is the question. So yeah, it's the same thing, but yeah. Kelsey, have you considered this question?
A very specific scene from a very specific movie immediately jumped out at me upon the duration of this presentation. And that is the final scene of everyone's favorite holiday movie, The Polar Express. When he is re-gifted the bell that has famously fallen out of his broken pocket, and Santa has luckily stopped by and given it to him. I was always under the impression that Santa in these universes never gave more than one gift, so it could easily fly under the radar of a lot of presents being gifted. And especially like in this instance, you know, it is just like a little bell in a little box, and the whole family acknowledges it. They're like, who's it from? We don't know where this came from. And then they realize it's just a broken bell, and they just kind of like brush it aside. There's no further, exploration into where this bell came from. And so I know that's very specific to the Polar Express, but I just kind of always assumed that Santa only got like one gift per child per household, and therefore it was very easy for parents to just overlook it. But I understand that with the attentive parents, this might not go over as easily. But I think at the end of the day, I really do lean towards your last theory. That's where I've always kind of left it in my brain, because I have thought about this,
Yeah, that's when you consider some of the movies, that does make sense. However, then you've got stuff like Arthur Christmas, where his whole thing is he's trying to get a bike to a child, and that is not so easily overlooked. Why? Right. Where did my child get a vehicle from? You know, it's very interesting. But no, I mean that. I think that is. I think all three are as plausible as the other ones, except maybe. I don't know that it's an evil entity because again, the evidence on that one doesn't really bear out, except for in things like Santa's sleigh. But I mean, especially movies like the Santa Claus, you see the process of the whole thing, like what's going on there. So it is questionable on that. But yeah, I don't know either. Does anybody have any? Yes, Chris.
I have one last little, and this is specifically tied to the Santa Claus. So at the end of that movie, spoilers for the Santa Claus, 30-year-old movie. But at the end of that movie, the ex-wife and the stepdad, they realize that he is Santa. So with that information, do they ultimately decide to tell other people that Santa is real? I'm forgetting.
I think they keep it to themselves, but I'm not that familiar with the sequels
and a series. Yeah. I'm sure they keep it to themselves, but even if they don't, like suddenly they're not invited to dinners anymore. Like I think it's that.
Yeah, and I guess people would be like, but they would have they would bring that up with other parents. They would be like, no, Santa is real, and this is why. Where are those extra presents coming from? They would be able to really launch into that. And if there's like a mind fog that Santa does, maybe that would lift it a little bit. Just being told explicitly that Santa is real.
I like, that's true. Like they could, like maybe if it is like a mind fog, which you mentioned, like. Maybe the knowledge of it will lift it and stuff like that, and maybe it doesn't have to be so specific, but it still feels like, as a parent myself, I can't imagine presents showing up and me not like knowing what happened or whatever, like that is kind of strange to me, but that is a good point. I really like the idea that Neil is actually the hero of Santa Claus because he's trying to stop the evil Santa by sowing doubt one child at a time. I love that theory there, but
Santa's low-key evil in that movie.
Well, you got to kill him in order to take his spot.
Look at the actor.
But it's thrust on you if you don't want it. Like the responsibility is thrust on you if you kill Santa. Like
right. Why can't we just kill Santas without any repercussions? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
I've been saying that for years.
And then the big question, Matt, is the cookies and milk. We didn't even get to that. Like, what's the deal with that then? Yeah, like who eats them then? Right. If the parents don't eat them and they're eating,
the parents are eating. Yeah.
Well, see, but that's the thing. Like, if they didn't believe in Santa, then they leaving that out there, eating the cookies and drinking the milk. If there is a Santa, either they are being very, very rude to Santa and having his cookies and milk, or Santa's doing it and they're just like, huh, I thought there was cookies and milk here, but now it's just crumbs in an empty glass.
Or the memory wiping serum is in the milk.
Oh,
because a lot of people don't like drinking milk. It's probably the one time a year a lot of people do drink the milk is when they're trying to drink it to make their kids illusion that Santa drank milk.
Or just pour it out.
That's fine, but here's a little thing as a dad in a 2-parent home, and kids, leave the room. If you're still in the room, oh, I'm so sorry, but leave the room right now because this is what happens.
I was leaving the room.
I was like, what's Jill doing?
My wife is like, we put out the stuff and we're ready, and my wife is like, are you going to take care of the cookies and milk? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then she doesn't have anything to do with it. So like maybe my memory is wiped in that scenario, but hers is still fully intact. So I don't know. That's an interesting.
Now I'm just imagining Santa getting to every house being like, oh shit, he already ate the cookies? I thought those were supposed to be for me.
Could there be some sort of weird like serum within the cookies that makes them forget?
Well, Dylan just said the milk, but the cookies, I mean, that could also be it. But again, we get back to the same issue with that there's only, like, generally only one parent is doing that. But, and some, you know, they're diabetic.
Sorry.
If they're diabetic parents, then then they're not. Or maybe.
And what about kids who celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas? That's another story for another time.
Well, also, what about bad kids? Like, what rules are we playing by? Are bad kids getting coal? Where's this coal coming from?
I don't know if a bad kid's ever really actually got coal.
Well, yeah, but I guess in the narrative of the movies that never really does happen. But yeah, fair.
Sorry, I would just like to take this time to talk about the Polar Express again. So in the Polar Express, there is an element, obviously we see this with the bell, right? Only those who believe can hear it ring. And I think that across the board in all these different Christmas movie universes, that maybe there is this element of the magic of Christmas, if you will, the Christmas spirit that kind of is a metaphor almost for like youth and innocence that slowly fades away as you get older. So maybe all the adults in this movie, like, you know, this has faded for them. And so now they no longer believe in Santa. So why, you know, that it's kind of like the memory wiping thing, but in a more, in less of like a, it's getting done to them sense, and more of just like, this is how it kind of just, this is how the world works kind of way. Like you get older, you stop believing in Santa. The Santa Claus is a very interesting movie. I really love that movie. I watch it every year. It's a staple. And there's a lot that needs to be discussed about that movie. Because for one, even if, you know, something that the parents and Neil and the mom talk about in the movie is that their reasoning for not believing in Santa is that they didn't get the presents that they had specifically asked for.
Weenie whistle.
A weenie whistle, and she asked for mystery date. So my question is, why didn't they receive their gifts? Did the spirit of Christmas fade for them too soon, and then they stopped believing a little too early? So Santa knew, oh, they don't believe in me anymore, gotta skip that house. Were they bad that year, and then the only repercussion is that you don't get the gift that you asked for, and instead of like blatantly getting a block of coal? There's a rabbit hole here.
Maybe in that movie specifically, there's good Santas and there's bad Santas. I don't mean evil Santas. I just mean bad at their job Santas. And maybe they killed the bad at his job Santa, and then Scott Calvin is the good one.
Yeah, because they do cycle out. That makes sense.
He did fall off that roof very easily, and you think if you're Santa, you have some practice being on a lot of roofs.
Yep.
But Scott Calvin wiped that. I was gonna swear really bad. I'm sorry. Wiped him out really quick.
Yeah, that's true.
So answer, there is no answer.
Yeah, well, that's what I said at the beginning. Like,
Said at the
I don't
top.
have an answer to this. I just want to see if anybody else resonates with anymore, or if you have any additional theories. But it sounds like it's unknowable, and we'll just have to wait for a movie to let us know what's going on. Since this is a movie issue, not one in the real world, unless it is one in the real world, and
Right.
and I'm victim of whatever's happening. But I don't know.
There's a
what was
YouTuber that I really like by the name of Danny Gonzalez, and he makes like parody songs in like kind of like the spirit of Bo Burnham. And he has a whole song written about the Santa Claus specifically, and about like literally one of the lines in the song is like, why do the parents not believe in Santa? Like, where do they suspect all these gifts are coming from? And it's called "I'm Gonna Kill Santa Claus." Because like the whole chorus is like, "I'm gonna kill Santa Claus." Anyway, so everyone should listen to that because it's like it perfectly like sums up the discussion that we're having here.
Nice. I honestly did not know that this was a question that existed outside of my own brain. So it's really cool that to hear that I'm not the only one who has dealt with this question.
Well,
But
it's really fun, and it's now a question I'm not going to get out of my head when I watch Christmas movies now. So thanks for that.
well, and maybe you'll find the answer, and maybe next year
Maybe.
you're like, here's the answer to your question in a slideshow. But
This is the song. It's going, "I'm gonna kill Santa Claus."
right on. All right. Okay. Well, have we exhausted all of our theories on this, guys? Anybody else have anything else?
I think
All
it's
right.
hard to get to the bottom of it. I'm so sorry, Matt. You keep trying to end it.
Keep going. Keep going. I love
just
this.
think it's hard to get to the bottom of it when Santa, depending on what movie you look to, is presented in a different context with different rules and different realities per movie. So it's really hard to pin it all down into one simple answer. So I don't know if we'll ever truly get to the bottom of this one.
Maybe it's all of them. And
What if they all
that's
exist in the same timeline and there are multiple Santas?
Interesting. I don't know. I don't know what if. But.
I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you
This season on
for.
What If. Oh, sorry. I just said this season on What If. Anyway.
It's very good.
Sorry.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. If go ahead and jingle that like button if you liked it. Deck the subscribe button for more of this. We just had a holly jolly time, and we're glad you were able to join us. Once again, my name is Matt. Thank you for joining our Film Talk.